let's cover the best all-around rod and reel to get you on fish. I understand not everyone wants to have 40 rods, so today's video is going to be kept a little more simple. So during my time working at a tackle shop, I've worked at 2 different tackle shops. One was on a coastal state and one of them is in an inland state. And what I've noticed is most customers that ask me and say, hey, I want to get out and fish. I just want a rod and reel that can go out and just catch fish. I don't know what I'm targeting, right? 90% of them are going to be going for these 4 different classifications of fish. The first one is going to be panfish. So that's going to be your perch, your crappie, your bluegill, sunfish, those type of fish. Your second one is going to be trout, rainbow trout, brown trout, brook trout, cutthroat trout, stuff like that. Your third one is going to be bass. So smallmouth bass, largemouth bass, spotted bass, white bass, fish like that. And your fourth one is going to be catfish and carp. Between those 4 different classifications, and honestly, those like 12 or 15 species I just mentioned, that is probably 90% of people's, fish that they're targeting on a weekly basis. So depending on what fish species you're targeting in there, I'm going to give you a rod and reel that I would suggest that you buy to target those fish. Something that's not going to break the bank, but it's going to be an awesome bang for your buck setup. I'm also going to give a rod and reel that could cover every single one of those all in one rod and reel. It's going to have every single fish species for that rod and reel. So we're going to go all into those combos now. Okay, so for the first one is going to be panfish and trout. Now with panfish and trout, they have softer mouths. They're usually a little bit on the smaller side. So you don't want a rod that is going to be super stiff. You want to have a little bit of play so that you can keep the fish pinned. And for this, I'm going to do a 6 to 7 foot light action rod with a size 10 to 20 reel on there, or 1,000 to 2,000 depending on the company that you're shopping for reels with. I would also pair up on this 6 to 8 pound fluorocarbon line. That's going to be a good all-around setup for those 2 fish. You could probably target small bass or medium-sized bass with this, but it's not going to be the best rod and reel for that. I would say the large portion of you guys that are watching are probably going to be chasing panfish, trout, and bass, considering those are probably the 3 most common fish in the United States, or just the world in general. So for those 3 fish right there, I would suggest a 6 to 7 foot medium light action rod. This is going to be paired with a 2,000 or a 20 size reel, and this is going to have 8 pound fluorocarbon line spooled up on the reel. This is going to be hands down your best all-around rod and reel, right, for those 3 fish. It's still soft enough to where if you hook a trout or a bluegill, you're gonna still have some fun. The rod's still gonna bend. You're gonna have some really good play with the fish, but it's also not, it's not too stiff, or it's not too light, right, to where those fish, like a big bass or something, isn't going to outgun you, right? It's still going to be a little bit small for catfish, but we're going to get into that for the next rod and reel combo here. The next rod and reel combo is going to be for bass and catfish. Now this is kind of an uncommon thing. Most people aren't targeting bass and catfish on the same rod, but if those are the 2 fish species that you want to target on this setup, then I would recommend a 7 foot medium heavy action rod, and this is going to have a 2 to 3,000 sized reel on it with about 12 pound fluorocarbon line. It's hard because catfish require a lot different gear than bass, bluegill, and trout do, but I have caught a lot of catfish on like a 7 foot medium heavy or medium action rod, so I know it can be done. Now if you're in a place where it's maybe known for large catfish, really big sized fish, then I would probably recommend skipping that for now, just saving up, getting a specific rod just for catfish and a specific rod just for bass. But if you are in a place where the catfish don't get as big, right, maybe like 2 to 8 pounds is kind of your average class of fish, you're going to be okay with a 7 foot medium heavy rod for sure. Now, for an all-around setup that can cover panfish, trout, bass, catfish, carp, pretty much anything under the sun, right? A 7 foot medium power is going to be your best all-around rod and reel to catch a whole bunch of different species. This is if you're fishing ponds in, Florida or California, or you are fishing a small little mountain stream or river in Idaho, right? This rod is it's not going to be the best for any specific thing, but it's going to be the jack of all trades, master of none, right? It's going to work for almost everything you need it to do, but it may not be the best for any specific situation. I love a 7-foot medium. If I had one rod and reel for the rest of my life, it's a 7-foot medium power with a size 2500 reel or 3000 size reel and 12-pound test line. That right there would cover a ton of different scenarios. Now, let's take a look at a couple brands that would work really well and create rod and reels specifically for these types of setups right here. If you are looking in that $150 budget range for a rod and reel, I would suggest a Fenwick Eagle and a Shimano Sedona, or a Fenwick Eagle and a Pflueger President. I think that setup right there is coming in at around $150 after rod, reel, and line. It's going to be an awesome setup. You're going to grow into the setup as well. It's not like something that if you really get into this, you're just going to, trash it after a year. Like, this is a setup you will have for a very long time. They make options for every single situation, like what I just said, and they've been around a long time. They're really good rod and reel companies. Now, if you're in more of the $100 rod and reel budget, I would recommend an Ugly Stick GX2 rod paired up with a Shimano Neck Save reel. Like I said before, they have the same sizes like what I'm saying right here, so they're gonna have a rod and reel for every situation I just mentioned, as well as they're going to be really durable, good bang for your buck setups that you're going to have for a long time as well. There definitely is an improvement in quality upon the first rod and reels that I was talking about versus this, but for $100, you can't beat it. That's an awesome price. If you go into your local tackle shop too, a lot of times they will have rod and reel combos like ready to go. I would suggest taking the line off. If a combo comes with line, take that line off and get it spooled with brand new line. That line is usually really, really bad. So I would recommend going with like a Pflueger Treon. That combo I believe is around 40 to 50 bucks for rod and reel. And after line, you're talking 50, 60 bucks, and that's another great setup as well. Definitely not the same level of quality as the other two setups, but it's also going to get you in the water and get you fishing. And they pretty much come with a lot of the different sizes like what I was talking about here. And like I said earlier, I do have links to all of the products down below so you guys know exactly which ones that you are looking for. If you guys are looking for something a little more specific than what I talked about today, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at Humbug Videos, and I would love to work through a rod and reel and get you all set up for what you need. If you want a little deeper dive into two of the products I talked about in today's video, I will put them right up here for you. Hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, and we'll see you guys next time on Humbug Videos.